Welcome back, everybody, to Inside Texas Baseball. I'm your host, Evan Veith, as always, joined by Nash Talks Texas right beside me. Nash, this weekend we got an early baseball series Thursday through Saturday. So on Sunday night, I didn't really have much to do, and it gave us a chance to watch some good college softball out there, and just a fun game. The Liberty Flames had a pretty interesting number one overall seed takedown in College Station. I don't know how much of that game you were watching, but as it comes to people on an Inside Texas show, you just have to call it a hate watch because that's what it was, and it was a successful one. Watching the Aggies fall to the Flames.
Yeah, what a year for Texas A&M athletics. I mean, especially in baseball and softball related sports. I mean, you start off the year in baseball, you're rated the number one team in all the nation, all the land. Everything's looking, Michael Early kept the roster. Everything's looking great. And they're the first number one seed that might not make the NCAA tournament. That's crazy. And then you also go to softball. Well, hey, we are actually the number one seed in the NCAA
We
tournament.
got there.
And then we're also going to be the first one to not make the region, to not win the regionals. It's a wild year, but you know what? As a Texas Longhorn fan, I ain't complaining.
Well, of course, this is a University of Texas show, and there's a different rival that you have to key in on a little bit this weekend because the Longhorns went out to Norman, beat the Oklahoma Sooners 2 games out of 3 in the series. Much needed series win for the Longhorns, and that Thursday night game was special. We're not going to go too in depth on each individual game, but specifically Thursday night because Max Ballou hits that 3-run homer. Texas is officially beating Oklahoma. It's his reunion. He's back to playing for Texas. Joe wrote an awesome article about him coming back, and he didn't have to. And then a few hours later, you see Arkansas fall, and Texas is the winner of the SEC. Just a pretty magical night for Longhorn fans all around. And what was that Ballou homer like for you? Were you expecting something like that, or was that just pure elation, something brand new that you didn't expect coming out this bat?
I mean, he's 0 for 3 on the day. All 3 strikeouts to a really good pitcher, Kyson Witherspoon. I put out a tweet saying, like, look, hey, great news for Max Blue. Best pitcher he faces all the rest of the year,
Yep.
right? So like he's not going to see a pitcher, not I shouldn't say of that caliber, but that's the best one. Like that's number
Yep.
one on the list, unless he could go and face Dylan Volantis in a game, but that ain't happening. Uh, but man, just watching the ball leave the park, right, and then going, you know what? Now we got the juice on our side. All we got to do is go and clutch up this game, and then after all that happens, South Carolina takes the lead and wins versus LSU at home in the ninth inning, bought with a great bottom of the ninth play.
Mhm.
And then Arkansas, you're watching that game and you're just sitting there and you're going, oh my God, Tennessee's actually going to beat Arkansas. And then, Texas is the SEC champions. I've thought about this kind of a little bit this weekend, and it's like having that all happen on game one. Great for my heart, great for my heart because I
Get
could
it all
not.
done.
I mean, Arkansas takes 2 of 1 or 2 of the 3 versus Tennessee. LSU takes 2 of the 3 versus South Carolina. So it's like if they don't win the first game, right, we got to sit there and possibly wait till Saturday, and that's excruciating pain that I'm glad I didn't have to go through.
Yeah, imagine if Arkansas was on the doorsteps of getting a sweep and Texas was still playing. You don't know if Oklahoma was going to make a comeback like they did in game 2. But
Yeah, then
it was
you just have to get to number 2, the second win of the weekend.
yeah, and that's all that would have mattered. And Texas did everything they needed to. Everything fell into place. Arkansas still had a great weekend for themselves, but it was all about the Longhorns this weekend, and it was a great hitting performance, especially with Ballou back. You really saw the bats ignite. And apart from a bad eighth inning from Max Scrubs in the second game of the series on Friday, pretty much all around, it was a great weekend for Texas. Their bats were working, their pitching was going well. Saturday's game. I'm going to throw to you as my voice is going away, but that game was just an awesome one for Texas fans to see, almost a victory lap as the 9-1 win with the Kimball Schuessler home run. What was your favorite part of the weekend outside of that Ballou swing?
Probably outside of I mean, it's related to the blue thing, but just overall the night of the blue home run, right? Like that, it's just like it. Friday was or Saturday, Thursday, I should say. Thursday was a historical night for just the program of Texas Longhorn baseball. in a program like this where there's so much history, right? To finish first year in the SEC, to have one of the best finishes. I mean, this is like I think tied for the third best finish
Mhm.
in the last 10 years of SEC play. I mean, what Texas did year one, just come in and, you know, basically say, "Hey, we're here." Not I don't want it is kind of asserting dominance, but it's more of, stating our presence, right? Like saying, "Hey, yeah, this is a baseball school. Yes, this is a baseball conference. Yeah, y'all got a lot of good stuff going for y'all, but we're a little bit different, We're not you're not just adding in some random Joe school. So it's going to come with a different level of pride at Texas and just I don't know, man, just that Thursday night, that will probably be one of the better Thursday nights of my life.
And I think part of this series was also a reminder, and especially Thursday night, just how good this team was this year. And I know that the 2 weeks before kind of put a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. Getting swept pretty embarrassingly at Arkansas. Florida comes in, a team that probably shouldn't be winning a series at home, or excuse me, them on the road. Texas at home, winning it there, taking 2 out of 3. But just a reminder, before that Arkansas series, Texas was 19-2 in SEC play. Those first 7 series were unbelievably successful for the Longhorns. And only having 8 series wins at the end of the year when you start like that is still pretty damn good in 10 games. So seeing them being able to host that trophy on Oklahoma's field, which, in front of the 5,000 fans that can even be in that stadium, most of which probably already left at that point, was a pretty magical sight to see. Obviously, the social media team does a great job of just highlighting the emotion of the team and what it was like for them. But I think people maybe are forgetting just how good this team was throughout this whole entire season and how far they've come from injuries to 2 of their top players, injuries to another probably 3 of their big players. Some kind of weird attrition near the end there with the Arkansas games, but it's just been a great season for the Longhorns, and that kind of takes me into what I want to talk about next in an article I just published before the show came out. Is I put down a list of the 5 most important players for Texas this year, the 5 MVPs of the team, and I think Rylan Galvan and Dylan Volantis being 1 and 2 are pretty. You can't argue with that. In either order you can have, it's either you have the freshman of the year, all SEC pitcher, maybe the best bullpen arm in the country, or the best catcher in the country, and Texas's best hitter. But that 3, 4, 5 is where it gets interesting for you. Outside of those top 2 guys who are going to win some awards, going to get some accolades and hardware, who is your next best guy on this team who's been the most important to the success of the roster throughout the year?
I mean, I put out a poll on Twitter, and I mean, Ruger Riojas was the third name that I put out, just because of if you want, like, I understand that, like, the last like 3 outings that
Mhm.
Ruger's had, he hasn't 9 earned runs, 6 earned runs, 3 earned runs, and they're all losses. So it's not, it doesn't look great, right? But to also like revisit just the special season that we had, you mentioned going 19-2. That doesn't happen with 1 earned run versus Mississippi State, 2 earned runs versus LSU, 0 versus Missouri, 3 versus Georgia, 3 versus Kentucky, 1 versus Auburn, 0 versus A&M. I mean, Ruger was absolute nails when we needed him to be. And another guy that really kind of fits a lot of this narrative. If you just look at the stats and you go, oh, I mean, guy hit 250. That's average, right? That's average. That's just average. Well, average came at just about every clutch point that we needed it to this year, and if Jalen Flores is average, I'll take average all day of the week. He leads the team in total bases. He's 1 home run behind Rylan Galvan. Leads the team in RBIs. Leads the team in doubles. Uh, Almost leads the team in hits. Leads the team in runs. I mean, Jalen Flores, what he has done is probably this year. It's going to be overshadowed by some, a lot of like 1-5, 1-6 games, 1-4, right? But every single one of those hits that he has, man, it seems like they're just coming up clutch every single time. And then you mentioned a clutch hit. Well, I mean, that's like Jim Schlesinger had a quote a few weeks ago saying, I don't know if this is the best team in the country. We'll find that out at the end of the year. But this is the scrappiest team I've ever coached. And I think a lot of that has to do with guys like a guy like a Jalen Flores, who, Texas, I want to say versus A&M, he had a clutch hit
Mhm.
where he gave us the deciding run.
The double, I think that he's
Yeah,
doing there.
it's just so many times that Jalen Flores has been like one of his doubles, one of his home runs has been the deciding difference for a very close game late in the game. I mean, Jalen Flores. That's if there's a dude that I want up at a clutch at bat, it's got to be him or Max Blue.
I think for me, a lot of weight into the article I wrote was just about the totality of kind of your SEC play and what you've done in the conference. Because of course, you want to win these midweek games, and Texas dropped a few too many, and you want to win these. It was awesome to have the wins outside in the MLB stadiums, but one of the things that kept Ruger off the list for me and Flores off the list is, like you said, we've been complaining about Flores being, 1 for 4. That one is a 2 RBI double that wins you the game potentially. But what were the other 3 at bats like? And there weren't a lot of walks. Thanks for bringing that up, Homer. My hitter I wanted to shout out was Kimball Schuster, which you can see right here, because not only was it that he just has very good stats, he's been another good clutch player. He filled in a role that Texas desperately needed to at a position that he never played before. Like he'd gotten work as a first baseman, but never full time. It was never his position. And now in his 5th year in college baseball, you ask him to do that, and suddenly he's your second most productive hitter. As you can see, he's probably one of the best defenders for his position. And the slugging percentage is only behind Galvan and Baloo. Leads the team in hits and RBIs in conference play. I thought Schuster was probably the guy who I most trust. Tomorrow, if I need a batter to get a hit, it's either him or Galvan, and I think that's why I'd want him to be my number 3 on this list. But I think Flores and Riojas are fantastic shouts. And as it goes for pitchers, if you want to scroll down a little bit, Homer, this might be surprising, but I had Luke Harrison here. I think he is the most underrated player on this team by far. He leads the team in innings pitched. Like I mentioned here, like WAR is not a thing in college baseball, and I don't know if anyone's a big Foolish Bailey fan or Foolish Baseball fan, but this is something he's talked about a lot. Is these inning eaters really don't get appreciated when you look at their stats, but then you look at their cumulative wins above replacement, and it's gaudy to see the numbers that guys like Charlie Morton and the MLB have. And that's exactly what Harrison is. He's giving you five innings, 2 earned runs, pretty much every time he comes out. And in his last 5 outings, he has a sub-3 ERA. He's been really good in the SEC and just Mr. Consistent. And he's been the most consistent starting pitcher on this team throughout the season, when Spencer's had his up and downs and injuries, and Riojas has had his ups and downs recently. So I really like what Harrison's done for this team. And I think more fans should appreciate what he is.
Yeah, I mean it's very fitting that you have Luke Harrison and Kimball Schuster, right? That's
Yeah,
your
right.
3 and 4, because those are literally, it's almost it's almost the opposite of the argument for Ruger Riojas and a Jalen Flores, right?
Yeah, right.
But like you're looking at the consistency as opposed to, hey, like a certain stretch or clutch hits. But and that's not saying anything bad, because Kimball is probably going to be my next guy. I say probably because there's another guy that I want to talk about here just in a second. But Kimball Schuster, man, you want to talk about, like you mentioned his stats, and his stats really aren't even what they should be.
Yeah.
If you could say, hey, you know what, you deserve a hit because you hit the ball hard. You hit a line drive in the outfield.
Yeah, his line out.
And you pissed on that ball. I mean, the amount of times that Kimball Schuster has hit a ball like really, really well and had to, get out because of it. I mean, it's been well documented on this channel all season long with me talking about it, banging that drum. But Kimball Schuster, man, I couldn't be prouder of that dude. You want to talk about, like you mentioned, him going to first base. I don't know how Division D1 baseball doesn't have him ranked in the top 50 of first baseman.
It's
Because
crazy.
you'd be hard pressed to find a better first baseman defensively, just off the rip, right? And then you add in how consistent he has been at the plate. I don't think there's a first baseman that I trust more than Kimball Schuster. I legitimately, like, not even trying to just be a Longhorn. I have so much trust and faith in that dude. The 2 other dudes that I really want to talk about for like a potential MVP, because these guys, in my opinion, right, like these guys are right there, and they've been massive for us. One is an Adrian Rodriguez. I mean, you want to talk about a freshman. A freshman is hitting 323, 950 OPS. He's started in every single game that he's played in, 44 games, 164 at bats, 30 runs, 53 hits, which is almost top of the team, 12 doubles, 7 home runs. The RBIs is lower, but total bases 88, 537 slugging, .413 on base percentage, and then also 14 of 15 stolen bases. He leads the team in stolen
Hmm.
bases.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that.
And this is a guy that he's playing hurt. Like
Yeah.
he's banged up, right? It's easy to forget that he's still playing hurt right now. And how he was playing before he got hurt, man, he was almost leading the team in home runs. He is he's just a very, very good player. And then also the fact that he can have the utility that he does, right? Like that I don't think I don't think even he knew probably that he was going to come in and be as versatile of a player, going to left
Yep.
field, going to second base, going to third base. He probably came in and thought, I'm going to play third base. I'm just going to stick there, and that's going to be my career. He's taken a little bit different path, and this is a guy that could, be a massive piece for Texas's flexibility in the future. But the other guy is Ethan Mendoza, another dude who got injured.
Hmm.
Started in out of the 51 games that he's played in, he started in 50 of them. He's finally back to defense. I think that his defense at second base, he is a really, really good offensive piece, but he might be even better on the defense. The amount of double plays I've seen him and Flores
Really good
turn,
hands he has.
amazing. And but it's a lot of his hitting statistics. If you just go and take what I just read for Adrian Rodriguez, they're literally almost the same for Ethan Mendoza. So
Hmm.
it is really kind of interesting when you have an Ethan Mendoza out of the lineup. Well, and he was batting no matter what, but it's almost like you're getting an Ethan Mendoza again when you get Adrian
Yeah,
Rodriguez going
right
in for
behind
him.
him.
So I don't know, all the guys that we just mentioned. There's more that probably are deserving of having their name mentioned in this conversation, but I think it just goes to show how special of a year we've had so far to be able
Seriously.
to talk about this many guys up for an MVP award.
Yeah, and that's what I'm counting Max Scrubs, who's been an awesome reliever, same with Thomas Burns. And you want to talk about real MVPs right now. Let's talk about Laura Baker and what she does for the city of Austin.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Thank you, LC. We do not have a Nash Talks Texas with me right now. I just get my beautiful face projected on here. And Connor, if you're still around, if you want to pull up the Texas stats heading into the SEC tournament, because there's some postseason ball coming in for the Longhorns here as they're the number one overall seed. Oh, we got Nash back. Good to see you, Connor. If you're still there, those stats, and obviously the Longhorn batting has been a bit of a problem all year. These stats are a little bit better than they were a few weeks ago because home runs have been up. You can see mostly, but man, even with some bad pitching these last few weeks, and bad's not even the correct word. Not as elite pitching. They're still number 2 in batting average, number 5 in earned runs, and number 2 in whip. It's pretty insane how even when this team is underperformed in theory, Riojas is in probably the wrong role for his skill set. Spencer's out. You're still getting an elite pitching staff throughout the year, and that's what's going to be the formula to win it all for Texas going through the SEC tournament and postseason play.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fitting because if you go back to early in the year, I'm pretty sure we had a conversation about what would you rather have if you're going to have one.
Yep.
Would you rather have hitting or pitching? I'd rather have pitching. I'd rather have pitching. Pitching is going to win you games more often than not. And you look at, I think this is just goes to show, but really it's been a lot of bad hitting as of late. And I don't want to say bad hitting, but just I think that teams are starting to kind of figure out. I mean, and this happens, right? The more information you get on a guy, you're going to take that information, and this is what they call scouting, right? When you scout your opponent, when you get that information, now you start to use it, and now you're going to be able to have more success because you're able to understand what people are more successful. So that's why, honestly, getting a guy like a Max Ballou is really dangerous because there's not a lot of information out there on him,
Yep.
on what he's been hitting well, what he's striking out on a lot. But you go and you look, I mean, it's just like in the last few weeks, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Uh, it's like 11 of like the 20 worst games that we've hit this year
Mhm.
have all come recently in recent weeks. So this is a team that really hasn't been hitting the ball hitting the ball well. And in my opinion, I mean, this is something that we want to see, fixed up because I mean, look, I know all the stuff that I said earlier in the year, that's good and all right, but you want a safety net. You
Mhm.
don't want to have to rely on good pitching because good pitching, if you're having to rely on good pitching, well, what happens if a guy like a Ruger Riojas goes out there and lets up 6 earned runs? If you're not hitting the ball, you're done. Like you're just done. Like it's not going to happen. So it was nice to see the team, getting back to, hitting a little bit better. 263, 278, 222. Games 1, 2, and 3 versus Oklahoma. But at the same
Mhm.
time, man, I want to get back to seeing that 344, 405 offense versus Auburn. You know,
Yeah.
hit hitting teams in the 300s. I want to see more of that, more confidence because that's the other thing. Hits are contagious, man. And if people start rolling together some hits, it's just this would be a very, very, very hard team to have to beat if you look and you say, hey, they got top end pitching and top end hitting.
Well, and I will say that since probably the first SEC series of the year, this is the healthiest this order has been. You've got Baloo back. Rodriguez is healthy, still not switch hitting, but at this point, he may just be a left-handed hitter for the rest of his time at Texas. And Mendoza's back to being able to play in the field. Galvan seems to be fine. He's back to throwing out runners the way you'd want him to. It feels like the 10 guys that you really want to be healthy all are healthy, and you have those options. And there's gonna be a lot of decisions that Schlossingle's gonna have to make about the lineup this year, but we've got an SEC tournament bracket that we want to show off, Connor, if Homer, if you want to pull that up. It's definitely an interesting run as my lights just turned on a little higher. Texas is the number one overall seed, which means they get to skip all the way into the quarterfinals. It's going to share that with Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and LSU. The draw is interesting. I don't think you're happy about Tennessee being right in front of you, but Missouri's not beating anyone. Alabama's going to wipe the floor with them. I don't care that they beat A&M. So you're likely facing the winner of Alabama and Tennessee in the second round. And there's definitely a discussion about what to do here for Texas because, in theory, this may already be the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. And that would be reason not to push it here. Maybe we throw in someone like Cade Bing or a starter that hasn't gotten as much run to maybe see if they can pitch in the regionals and super regionals or give some rest to some players like Galvan or Mendoza who've been banged up all year. But then on the flip side, it's the SEC tournament, and you might not have actually locked up this seed. And if Vanderbilt or LSU or Arkansas go on a run and win it all, you might have actually played yourself out of it with having not gotten that. So Nash, for as I think you got some dog problems here, I guess I'll start out the idea with I do think Texas should probably be a team that tries to compete and throw out their best pitchers. I would like to see Riojas start this quarterfinal game on the 22nd because the most important thing for me right now for this Texas team is making sure Baloo can play, which I think we've already figured that out. And two, making sure that Riojas can be a starting pitcher that plays really well in this postseason and can pitch not only just regional games, but that first super regional game, the most important one, that really pivotal important moment against it was ECU back in the day for Texas. But can they have a pitcher that's not Harrison that's consistently able to pitch in the postseason? And that's where I would like it to be. Hey, Riojas, you're facing a good SEC team, a potential national seed like Tennessee or Alabama, and then the lineup. Let's go out and hit. Let's win because we just talked about how this lineup does kind of need to get back to the Auburn ways. So splitting up the team that's already kind of not been able to play a lot with each other is not the best idea in my opinion. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Nash, what they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a solid case to be made about losing the first game might be the best situation for Texas. You look at this. I mean, you talk about like rest and real R&R, rest and relaxation, especially for the pitching staff. There's no need, especially having lost Jared Spencer. There's absolutely almost dropped the Jared Thomas starting pitcher name right there for those who might be traumatized by hearing that one. Yeah. So you go and you look at. I mean, having lost Jared Spencer, it's if you go out there and you pitch this game seriously and you burn an arm for the rest of the season, you look like the biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah,
Being
yeah,
named
you
Jim,
do.
like Jim Stossing was going to sit there. He's probably going to call himself an idiot. Like, why did I do that? Like, uh, I think you kind of already get a little bit of a hint at where Jim Stossing sits on this one. Having he had that quote saying winning the SEC regular season is the hardest
Yeah.
thing to do. Talks about the SEC regular season, talks about the postseason, doesn't mention the SEC tournament.
The tournament.
Doesn't mention. I think that right there lets you know he doesn't give a shit about the tournament. So
Yeah.
I think that there's a case to be made that it's the best case scenario for Texas to lose game one. I do understand what you're saying. Guys, I'd like to see guys hitting the ball. Having those contagious bats and rolling into the postseason. But then again, too, I mean, on the opposite side of that, I think that there's another argument to be made for losing game one. That's you have a lot more time off in between the regional, and not just for rest and relaxation purposes, but okay, yeah, we may not know exactly who we're going to play, but Texas isn't a team that plays who we're going to play. Like we've never been a team that's playing an opponent. We're never playing the scoreboard. We're always playing to a standard. And that's just more time to sit there and rep and practice and, hey, this is the standard that we want to be at. We're going to practice harder than we play baseball, right? So that we can go out there and just react and execute. And then the pitchers, you just sit your butt over there and don't
move your arm.
If I see you playing Wii Sports one time, I'm gonna smack the living crap out of you. But yeah, no. I like a situation where, hey, pitch, because I just do get the feeling like you don't want to burn arms, and it just does feel like if we throw guys in, like if we throw our like Riojas, Burns, Belantis, I'm blanking on Grubbs, Harrison,
Walker.
Yeah, there's too many good names to sit there and think about. They're all fogging up my mind, but I mean, you lose any of those arms and you're, like I said, you look like an idiot. So it's just go out there, throw a bullpen. You got some competition up there. If we win the games, cool, we won, right? But if we lose, honestly, not that moved. I'm probably more fine with that.
Yeah, I think your points about Schlossnagle and his mentality are ringing true, and that's probably what's going to happen. Is you're maybe going to see Cade Bing come out, and I do think personally, I would like to see Texas win that first game, even if it means, hey, we're throwing out the secondary guys in the semifinals and taking our rest days, because playing through Sundays, you're losing a lot of practice, you're losing a lot of rest, and that might not be what you want heading into a regional. Though I will say, as we talk about national seeds, if you want to bring up that graphic, the resume comparison, Connor, I think that this is a team that's already solidified their number one spot. You can see the numbers right here. This was a recent article of mine. Outside of things like RPI in Georgia's favor, but they don't have the quad 1 and quad 2 wins, and strength of schedule for a team like Vanderbilt, Texas should have it locked up right now, and no matter what happens in this tournament. They have the best record in the nation outside of teams like Northeastern. I think it's 9 losses, but they play. I don't even know who Northeastern plays in their conference. 5-0 in quad 2 games, 17 wins in the quad 1. The last 10 is obviously the thing that stands out for Texas as being the problem. You've lost, a sweep in the SEC, and you also lost 2 against Florida. But no matter what happens in this conference tournament, I don't think Vanderbilt, LSU, Georgia, Arkansas, any of these teams here should be able to jump them. My only fear is that the people who make the brackets don't agree with that, and that they say, hey, if you won the SEC tournament, if you're Arkansas or LSU specifically, and you were already right there to win the SEC, and Arkansas already has the win above Texas, LSU is already the number 1 overall ranked team in D1 baseballs, is that the number 1 overall seed? And that's where I'm a little bit concerned about where Texas could be if they lose this first game to Tennessee or Alabama or maybe Missouri. But I do think they should be in the wheelhouse that no matter what, they are the number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this quad 1 through quad 2 record.
It's impressive.
The quad 1 record is you're not going to get any much more impressive if you can find something any more impressive than that. And I think that that's going to be what kind of really holds Texas. Like, there's a lot of weight in there because I mean, you go and you look at like a team like Alabama, for example, right? They're 14-11 versus the top quad teams. Like, that's almost even. It's like 17-10 is just it's stupid almost to go
You
that. That's,
played more and you've gotten a full series worth of games ahead of
yeah,
them.
and you're almost winning six. You're almost winning a 600 at a 600 rate. I mean, it's just. I think that I understand that there's the whole RPI strength of schedule stuff, and that they played them at home, and I just one RPI also kind of takes out like tries to even out the whole home and road stuff, but two, it's just it's hard for like you really have to hinge your argument on
Yeah.
on Texas. Texas played all the teams at home for them to not be the number one seed, and it's just quite frankly, it's a stupid argument.
I don't think they have betting odds on the number one overall seeds, but you'd think it'd be Texas versus the field right now, even with them not being the number one RPI team. And yeah, the strength of schedule is hurting them a little bit here because, like you said, it's most of those games were at home of the top teams, and the ones that weren't at home, Arkansas, they got swept at. Which that's the Arkansas series is really the only one that would give even a second thought for people to say, hey, this team couldn't take one against one of our other top teams who say they win the SEC tournament. Well, they've then got their own SEC championship to hoist up, and they have the head-to-head. But even number two RPI team Auburn, I didn't even include on this graphic because I just don't think they have the overall resume to get there. But they don't have things like the quad one wins that Texas does, and I really don't think anyone in the country has that specific stat of 17 wins. I'd have to recheck it, but yeah, the last 10, the Arkansas series is hurting Texas, but still, I just don't see this not being the number one overall team, no matter what. And if that's how Schloss is talking to people involved in this process, and if that's the information he's getting, then like you said, let's not have a chance of Volantis or Grubbs or Burns getting hurt. Let's throw out Bing, see if we can get something from Hudson Hamilton, Cody Howard, Duplantier, if you still got anything for the pitching side of things, and then like can Rylan Galvan get a rest game, man? Like, can he get a chance to like sit on the bench for once?
Dude, seriously, man, like that guy, like, look, what's left to prove for him, man? He's got nothing left to prove. He's out there, and Ryland's probably like, I mean, look, no baseball player wants to be taken off the field. Ryland Galvan's probably like, dude,
Part was like,
just one day, just one day, man.
one game.
Like, I mean, he's out there. He hits a double, and he's out there like limping around, and it's like, God, the man's tired. Like he's had an entire. And for people that like this is why catchers go down to one knee in the in the big leagues is because it's a long and grueling season. Being a catcher is a very unforgiving position. I would say, man. So what are your thoughts on this? Right? Because I still want my guys, right? Like a Luke Harrison and a Ruger Rojas to go out there, and I want them to start. Get 20, 30 pitches, throw a bullpen, right? Go through your starting routine on Friday and Saturday. I really liked how he did that with, moving Bing up to Thursday, keeping Ruger and Friday, because nothing changes. You go back to the weekend spot. Yeah. They go right. Ruger goes back to game one. Luke, nothing changes. Everything like the week, you don't have to readjust the week. All the repetitions, all of all the stuff that people don't see leading up to a pitching performance for a starter, all that remains the same, right? And that's all big stuff because like baseball is a very repetitive sport, right? And you want to get as many repetitions in as possible, but it's also that familiarity with a routine. Having honestly starting pitchers, one of the most important things to them is the routine going up to it. And that's just not on the day of the game. That's also leading up to the days of the game. But man, I look at this and I think that I'm almost like going back around and saying, you know what? Having these games like a Cade Bing, Jason Flores, Hudson Hamilton, and Grayson Saunier, right? And Andre Duplantier, Aiden Moffett. This is a great opportunity for some of these guys that aren't going to get normal innings if Texas is winning games. This is a great opportunity for them to get some more work in. And if we can get as much work to these, guy, I don't want to say like they're not nobodies, right? But
secondary
Most
options.
people like lesser known name, like less. I don't want to see lesser known names, but
And that's what mostly. I mean,
yeah, but
Fingers,
I mean,
Galantis.
you're just not as much as your typical guys that you're going to see in the games. Uh, getting a lot of these guys some work, right before the regionals against some pretty good teams. I mean, look, if you unless Missouri finds their way up to the game versus Texas, I mean, we
There
got
might be a
like
problem.
that would be well. Just on a little side note, it would be hilarious if the SEC championship is Missouri versus Texas A&M for
I
for
saw
the
your
title.
prediction on Twitter with A&M getting there.
And Greg Sankey's got to walk out there smiling like he like two good teams just did something. But yeah, no, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I think getting like you look at this right here, the projections. I mean, we're going to have a lot, and then also, how valuable would it be to get to see Tennessee before potentially seeing Tennessee when it actually matters, right? Just being able to get an eyeball on some of these batters would be amazing. And honestly, that might be a case for Tennessee to say, you know what, we just want to lose game one. Alabama, you can take that, right?
Don't give them any tape.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just think that we can get a lot of work to some guys that really otherwise wouldn't be getting a lot of work in, and that might be a benefit for us.
Yeah, and even as a 1 seed, you're not loving how this projection looks with DBU, who's a very good mid-major, USC, who's they're a blue blood in the sport, even though they've been pretty not great recently. Georgia Tech just won the ACC, and we know how good Tennessee is. But let's go over to the
Arizona State, another blue blood too.
Yeah, Arizona State's another good team. So, Connor, if you want to pull up the rankings, I know they don't really matter as much these days, but you've gotten some final ones from places like D1 Baseball, Baseball America. The Athletic has Texas back at number 1, USA Today and D1 at number 2, and then they kind of that middle, the single digits for perfect game in Baseball America. It doesn't matter at this point. All that these teams care about now is the field of 64 projections and where they are at. But still interesting to see the progression and perfect game somehow being the one that was early on Texas and then being the one that was least bullish on them at the end of the year. It's just so fitting for how these rankings always work. But as much as you want to harp on Kendall and D1 Baseball, I don't quite agree with LSU being ahead of them, but they are top 2, and some of these other places do not believe they're top 2 teams in the nation. So it feels like a lot of these places rate more than they rank, which I have my own opinions on how everything in college sports works with that. But I will say I don't think these are terrible projections for a team that's probably going to be the number 1 overall seed based on what happened 2 months ago as compared to this last month where they lost 4 or 6 of the last 10. It's fair to point that out.
Yeah, no, it is perfectly fair. The perfect game stuff is interesting, right? Isn't that an interesting group of people? Because preseason, like everybody's like, what type of crack are you smoking, right? And then it's like, yes, they did lose back-to-back weekends, right, with Florida but they're just like, we don't care. We're punishing you, right? You've been punished.
You
but
are the number 8.
I do also love the consistency of them because they have been without a doubt the most consistent poll across the board from start to finish. USA Today, I thought, has been probably the second most. Like, obviously, the coaches know what's going on in their league, but they've probably been the second most consistent. And then the lower half right here, where we get to the ratings, I'm not sure if Connor can pull those up. College Baseball Central, they actually did put that one out, and so that's on the bottom right corner. Texas is number 2 in the final poll, but man, for a team that came in and we were pretty much, you look at the preseason, like 19 for College Baseball Central, USA Today 13, 19 for D1 Baseball, 14 for Baseball America. To have number 6 as like a controversial highest rank, what a season for this Texas team, and it's far from over, right? Like, this is the way that I also look at this. I know I have preseason up there. In my opinion, with how wild baseball is, the regular season is just one giant qualifying preseason. And then we are just now getting into the actual season of college baseball. The month of June is my favorite month, bar none, and it definitely it's going to get real wild real fast.
And you couldn't put it better. What a season for Texas! And if you we keep saying this. If you still haven't been checked in Texas, which you probably are if you're 40 minutes in this video, and now is the time to be. But I think that's going to be all for us today, Nash. Good talk here. I think we got a lot of topics out, and it's always been a blast with you. And this whole regular season has been a great time for Inside Texas. I will give you some final words because we got a tiny bit of time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually got some final words today that might be applicable. Man, what a season! In the fact that we have not had to sit here and have had this has not been a therapy. I thought coming in, I'm like,
Therapy
man,
session.
I'm gonna have my therapy buddy Evan Veith. We're gonna have our therapy sessions, weekly therapy sessions, and we haven't had to have one all year long. And I understand even if there's routes for us to have therapy sessions, but I'm not even gonna put those in the air. So I'm just incredibly happy to be a Texas baseball fan. This Texas baseball team is so amazing. I also do want to shout out Occupy Left Field right here. The I've gotten to meet some of the players' parents, and just the amount of like family atmosphere and vibes that have kind of come from not just left field, but just this entire Texas baseball team and fan. It really just feels like one giant family. And for all the stuff that Occupy Left Field has done out there, and to make that kind of happen, want to really give him a shout out and really give him his flowers, because I've made a lot more connections and a lot more friends in the Texas baseball space this year, and I've been going out there for a while now, for a few years, but this year has just been incredibly special. And I don't want to say a lot of personal things, but these baseball players are they are some really great human beings. They volunteered their free time for some things. These dudes, I can't say enough positive words about this Texas baseball team and the families that brought these guys up. And man, so happy to know each and every one of y'all. But thank y'all for all, and we're not done with these shows yet, but thank y'all for tuning in throughout the year, because this has been really fun doing the show, and then also being a part of this Texas baseball family.
Couldn't have said it better, Nash. That's going to do it for us here over at Inside Texas. Make sure you're always checking out the Inside Texas boards. It's still don't have that spring sale, but it's still the best place you can go for Texas athletics. Shout out Inside Texas as always, and that's going to be it for us. Have a good one, everyone.
Welcome.